We are live, I think, I hope. Say hi if you're here joining us. We are just getting set up. I've been away. I just got back to Hamburg, so got my setup going. Hopefully things look okay and you can hear me. If you're joining us, let me know. Did you sail? How was it? Hey, Dom Dom. How is it going? Den. How's your week going? Is it too cold to sail? Tomas, Owen, hey, good to see you guys. How's it going? I just got back to Hamburg. I was in Berlin for a couple days. I was visiting with Paul, who, hey Luis, who you guys know from the beginning of my streaming. And so I was with him, and he took me to a birthday party of someone else named Paul, where they rented out the wave pool in Berlin. So I didn't get in the ocean, but I got in the wave pool this week. It was my first time doing that. I'd never done it before. And I kind of figured it out. I didn't learn very quickly. But what I like about that experience is really having to get in the beginner's mind, having to be humble, having to be, an absolute beginner, falling on your face. So that was a fun experience. My knee, I woke up, so we did that for a few hours yesterday, and then I woke up this morning. My knee, my bad knee was super sore, so hopefully I didn't mess something up on the indoor wave. So I'm hoping that it just calms down, and I took some ibuprofen, I rested it today. I'm back in Hamburg, and I hope tomorrow I'll wake up and it will feel fine. Cool, we got good crew in the chat. Steen, Fabian, Matt, nice. Finfoil, Jory, am I saying that right? Hey everyone. All right, so John, Charles, above zero. Is that the temperature you go? You guys are so hardcore. I'm so impressed with all of the cold water windsurfers out there. I've sailed some cold stuff, but not as cold as you guys sail. And when I do, I definitely struggle with it. 5C is your cutoff. With which wind strength? The coldest I've sailed, I think the coldest I sailed was probably I think it was April or March. And I posted a video of it, or maybe it was I think April. And it was on the Baltic Sea in about 0 and blowing 4-5 weather. That was cold. To me, that wasn't really fun. It was like 4-5, so pretty windy, and 0 with waves at Weissenhaus and snowing a bit. That was a bit too cold. It was hard for me to have fun because I was so uncomfortable with the cold. But then I had another session a few weeks after that, also on the Baltic Sea, that had warmed up just a little bit, and it was fine. So a few degrees make a pretty big difference as well. And in fact, that other session I went without boots and gloves because those mess me up because I'm not used to them. Cool. Yeah, Dum Dum, I want to check out the footage. I just saw some pictures from the French event. Friday, you're sailing without gloves in the Netherlands? Nice, hardcore. All right, so we got a question from Francis about how long the Ezzy masts last. Like, when should you replace them? You should check them for cracks and fissures. But they last a long time. I mean, I have masts that are over 10 years old that I still use. So as long as they still look good, there's really no reason to replace them. And if you take good care of them, keep them out of a lot of sunlight, don't throw them around so they get little fissures. Like, that's the most important thing for mast care, is that they're not landing on little sharp rocks and getting fissures, little cracks. They'll last a long time. Cool. Easy question. Moving on. So Jusso is working on the Downwind 360, carving 360. He gets a lot of attempts where the sail touches the water and then falls in completely after that. Many tutorial videos talk about laying down the sail. Maybe I'm doing it too much. Does lay down mean rather move the sail more towards the back of the board than close to the water, or both? Looking to learn this move to really carve the board hard, also in bottom turns. So, Juso, great question. I think the first thing that's important to make clear is that the technique is a bit different than for a bottom turn, but it's a move that I really recommend learning for everyone in the waves because it teaches you a lot about board control, sail control, and that will help you with your wave riding. And your jumping, it will help you with everything. Hey, Carl, good to see ya joining us. So we got a question about downwind 360s. I think the key, Juso, is really pushing the sail back towards the tail of the board. I think we've got some good answers from people here. So Thomas says, again, pushing the sail really far back. And like the feeling I have is the sail goes, say, Sammy, way back. It's like the clue's almost in the water by the tail. I'm pushing the sail so far back. And then leaning my body forward kind of around the mast is a bit the feeling that I have. Jeff has some advice. Mast moves back during the turn. Again, yeah, speed going into it really helps as well. It's like with everything. Speed really helps. I like also not to try to carve too early. So it's similar like with the forward loop. You know, the more downwind you are when you start the rotation, the less rotation you have to do. So I think it really helps for the carving 360 to go downwind as much as you can, and then go into the carve rather than going just on a broad reach and going into the carve, because then you have a much bigger circle that you have to do, if that makes sense. So start going really downwind and fast. You know, the faster you're going, the faster you'll coast, and the more time you'll have that it's easy to balance, because when you stop, that's when it's difficult to balance, right? Yeah, cool. Thomas says, boom out, mast back, then lay down. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Jory says he's got the feeling there are two things that really work for him. Look into the wind as soon as I can. Towards the moment of backwinding, sheet your sail a bit in over your back foot. It helps avoiding your clue catching your foot straps and controlling backwind your sail. Both of these are great tips. I really like it with the head. So, you know, one of the heuristics for most things that we do, again, not all, but most things we do is you really want to look where you're going. And the carving 360 downwind is really no exception. Hans, I think fin foil, that's you, Hans, right? Hans is saying the sail touches the back leg, and I also agree with that. You guys are great. You guys are doing my job for me. I love it. It's great when the coaching comes from the group, because then it's, I think, in a really relatable, easy to digest form, and that's super cool for everyone involved. I really love that. And this is a cool video from Mark. I love seeing so many great comments. I love, hey, Caro. I love seeing all of this. You guys are giving so many good tips. There's not really a lot extra I can add. You know, I've already said what I think are the most important. I think hey, Max, I think the main thing I said that I don't see here is to start really downwind, because then you've got less that you need to carve, and then it's also easier to initiate. So the more downwind you're going, the less force there is in the sail, which makes it easier then to sheet in hard as well. You know, like if you're going upwind and you want to start the carve, then you've got a lot of force in the sail, which makes it just more difficult. And then I love, great video from Dennis. You guys have a lot of good video. He puts his foot in front, which is also a great tip. Especially when you're learning them, to help push the nose around at the end. Yeah, just great. These are, you guys knocked it out of the park. You guys killed it. This is so good. All right. All right. All right, I've got a little competition that I want to do with a prize. So we've done a few different forms of competitions in the past. Some kind of random ones, some games where you had to guess, and this is probably the most complicated one, and I'm not sure how it's gonna go. We've got to see which of these pieces of advice help people the most. And so there might be multiple winners of this competition. But basically, one of the things I notice is we talk about the high five, we talk about connecting with the power of the wave. But one of the number one things that I'm saying in the coaching is to hit the section. So like Tavi posted this great picture of hitting the section, but there's a lot of footage and we can go through and see of you guys who are great sailors ripping, aiming just below the section. I think every week we've got at least one clip of going below the section rather than at the section. And I think, hey, Rich, I think there's a challenge, there's a difficulty in hitting that part of the wave. I'm trying to find an example in the group. That's why I'm scrolling so quickly. There's a whole bunch, but yet I still can't seem to find an easy example. So there were some examples from Sammy. I don't know if this is exactly one of those examples. Little bit. So he's turning a bit sort of in front of the power of the wave rather than on the power of the wave, letting the power of the wave do the turn for him. And so there's a lot of video examples like that, and I think it's a milestone in your wave riding that's a little bit difficult to get right away. And so there's some great advice in here, and I'll go back through. If I have time, I'll go back through and tag everyone in the video that they submitted where I gave that coaching advice, and they can look at this list, read what everyone has to say, and see what is the best. And if we don't get breakthroughs from, hey, Charlie, from the rest of the community, then for the competition, I'll go through and I'll choose the bits of advice that I think are the most, what's the right way to say this, that really capture it in the best way or communicates what you're trying to do in the best way. And yeah, and then those people win the prize. The prize is one of these Ezzy duffel bags. There's pictures of them in the group somewhere. I normally have one next to me. I don't at the moment, but they're cool beach bags made of sail material. All right, cool. So that's a little competition. If you have some tips about hitting the lip rather than turning under the lip, post it in here. If you're trying to hit the lip rather than turning under the lip, read in here and see what you think helps you the best, and let me know. So if there's something in here that works really well, like it, comment under it, and let's get a discussion going. All right, we've got some pictures from Hans. Looks like nice clean waves, getting washed a bit. Yeah, looks nice. So let's read this if there's a question in here. Yeah, you're a little bit away from the power section, Hans, but you know you can still do nice turns, nice carves on the powerful part of the wave that's not breaking, on the steep part of the wave, which it looks like you're doing. It looks like you're having fun. So nice pictures, looking good. All right. Yeah, I posted this question for discussion. When was the last time you felt challenged, frustrated with windsurfing? I really love reading everyone's answers, and I think that they also help each other as well, because you know we all get frustrated, we all have issues and fears and challenges, and talking about them, I think, helps us to realize that we're not alone in our challenges, and that it's just natural and part of it, and then not to be too hard on ourselves. Something that has come up again and again is the importance of not being too hard on yourself. And I think it comes from a pride, possibly, that you want to be really good. You have high expectations of yourself, but often those expectations can lead you to being too difficult on yourself, which then actually gets in the way of progress and fun. So not only are you not having fun, but you're also not getting better. And having that beginner's mind, happy to learn, happy to look silly, being okay with being a beginner as long as you need to be, is where we want to strive. And again, that's really difficult. Like, I was frustrated last night trying to learn this indoor wave. Like, it was difficult. I wasn't getting it. I thought, Mario. I thought, I'm going to get this for sure, right? I can surf. I'm going to get it. But I didn't. It took a while. Hey, Stina. Good to see you. I hope you're good. I've got a question for you. What's the best English version of, if I want to read some Euripides in English, if you know? You might not know. I guess you're reading everything in the original. Anyway, so it's important not to be too hard on yourself. And again, that comes from a pride and expectation. And so really dialing back the pride, dialing back the expectation, and enjoying being a beginner is really important for, one, having fun, and two, actually progressing more. And it's when you're dealing with frustration and challenge, that's a note that you need to zoom out a bit, not be so hard on yourself, and enjoy the process, enjoy the beginner mind. So some great discussion here. Love to read it. All right, we've got this post from Charles. So I'm going to read what he wrote, and then we're going to watch the video. So he says, a few sets of turns from the last session of the season last week. It's getting too cold here now. I don't get to wave sail often, but the tips I received from this group help speeding up and focusing my learning. This is very valuable when you can't practice often. With that background in mind, here are a few questions. This is a slow, shallow wave, and I'm trying to find bits of power here and there. Does the timing look okay to you? With the lack of speed, it feels like I'm getting bogged down and end up behind. The bottom turns look like too much on top of the board with the hips in. Maybe an outcome of a slow wave. Any advice on stance for slow, shallow waves? What would be your top tip going from slow, gentle waves to more punchy, steep waves? Maybe focusing on rail engagement and mass-based pressure? Any advice is welcome. All right, let's turn off the sound and let's watch the clip. So I think one of the main things that stands out, Charles, in this clip is your flow. You've got great flow flowing from front side to back side. I can see that you've got you're really trying hard. You're putting in a lot of effort into the flow. I can see your head looking down the line, up the line, down the line, up the line. So I really like to see that. Really like to see that effort. You've got these sort of clean turns. I think the next step for these waves, and then we'll get into transferring these lessons to waves with more power. The next step for these waves is actually what we were talking about earlier, which is coming a little bit higher. By the way, I really like that backside turn. Coming a little bit higher on the wave and connecting more with the direct power source rather than right under it. So if we watch some of these turns, for example, this one, you're turning right under the lip, and it's a nice turn, you're keeping your speed, but you could come a little bit higher and connect with this power source, and that will give you even more speed and projection, even though the wave doesn't have much power. And same on the backside turns. So again, you're turning just a little bit right below that main power, that punch of power. And so if you can connect this turn just a little bit higher so that you just moved a little bit up more, so that punch of contact from the wave is hitting the bottom of your board, you'll notice a lot more acceleration, a lot more speed. So that's the main thing that I want to see, is really getting that connection a little bit more. I really like that little kind of floater drop in. So there's a lot You're doing great. I want to see just, and again, this is another example. Like this is a perfect example. So for this whitewater, you can just come up and hit that whitewater. Let the whitewater turn you rather than turning in front of the whitewater and then picking up speed as the whitewater hits you again. Position your board. You've got this nice wide stubby board. It's going to pick up speed from this whitewater. Just position the bottom of the board like we're talking about to get that high five. So the whitewater punches the bottom of your board and does the turn for you. And that will be a big improvement in your riding. You'll notice a huge difference. And so it's just coming a little bit higher on this whitewater, just getting that punch so it hits the board rather than you doing the work to turn everything. Some good advice from Rasmus and Rich as well in the comments. But you keep a really nice even speed, Charles, and I like seeing that. Your flow is really nice to watch. It's not like you're starting and stopping. You're not hesitating, and that is a big win. So this is another example again where you can kind of hit this whitewater. And again, because these waves are small and they don't have much power, there's no consequence. There's nothing bad that's going to happen if you hit the whitewater. So just really connect with a whitewater session like this. Yeah, so I think you know what to work on, and so it's basically getting the wave to do more of the work for you in the turn. All right, Stina, I'll let you know. I'll get some of these Edith Hall translations and read them. I read some of these dramas in school and really liked them, and I'm craving them again. All right, so Vic posted some nice action from Ireland. There's not a coaching question with this, so we're not going to go over it right now, but great to see you've got good conditions in Ireland. Love to see it. All right, we talked about Eric's question in the last stream. We talked about Bjorn's question in the last stream. Could it be that we're caught up? That went quickly. I guess it's that time of year where it's cold, and so we're not sailing. Hey, Marine and Tom. How was the French championships for you? I just saw some pictures, but I didn't see how it went. So Marine competed in the French championships, and the conditions, as Dom said, were pretty epic. So let us know how it went. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go over a few administrative things. So again, always post your questions, videos, comments, all of that in the group. We've got this competition about advice to help with hitting the lip rather than turning right under the lip. You can find that thread. It's right here. I can pin this to the top. I'm going to pin this to the top, and that way, how do I pin it to the top? Pin to feature. That way this will be easy to find for the competition. The winner gets one of the beach duffel bags, one of the Ezzy Sales beach duffel bags. All right, some sad news is that with the recent developments with Corona in Cape Town, I think it's not going to be possible to do any coaching there this winter. Unfortunately, it's so frustrating. I'm ready for all the COVID stuff just to be done, as I'm sure everyone else is in the world. And yeah, it's a difficult call to make, but I think, there's always the chance that it gets better. But at the moment, flights are getting canceled, things are being shut down, and it's pretty much already December, and so I'd have to make the call now to confirm it 100%. And I think it's just too difficult. It's too risky, also for you and for me to be stuck there. And then, like at the moment in Germany, you have to quarantine when you come back even if you're vaccinated. So I think it's just not happening. So I'm going, instead of Cape Town, I'll go back to Maui earlier than planned, and I will do some coaching there. So some of actually the people who are planning to go to Cape Town told me that they're going to go to Maui instead, which is cool. And we'll do some coaching there. Depends how many people there are who are interested of what that format will look like. It might be more small groups rather than sort of the normal clinics that we've been doing, which, all the different sizes have their advantages. So the small groups are good for working on specific things and with more focused instruction. And then the big groups are good they have a lot of advantages. I really like the big groups. You get the networking, which is, I think, cool for everyone, but also the peer pressure and exposure to new goals, new everything. Having the group of people that are working on a variety of moves. So I think it really helps in the big groups to have people who are working on, aerials, working on getting out over whitewater, this whole thing, and the group can really help itself get better. And so, Caro, I really hope it opens up and you have a sick trip down there. But for me, it's just too hard to make this call now, especially concerning other people. So it's a sad decision, but I think a necessary one. At this time, I'm going to do some coaching on Maui, and then I'm going to come back to Europe in May. Again, the COVID stuff makes it so difficult releasing dates for next year. I know a lot of you guys have been writing me about dates, and I've got to check, but there was a group, I believe, in mid-May that wants to do something in Portugal. And so I could tag on another week after that in Portugal in the north, in Viana, which I think is great for sort of intro to waves. It's wind from the right, which is great training for all of the wind from the left riders. Working on your devil's tack is the best way to get better at your good tack. So anyway, I'm going to release the dates, but it's so difficult with all the COVID stuff because it's changing. Everything's changing all the time. So whatever I do release will still be kind of temporary. And hopefully we go back to being able to have dates that don't need to be changed all the time. So Caro was asking about the Cape Verde World Cup. So the plan for the Cape Verde World Cup, which again, so I think I mentioned this last time on the stream, I'll mention it again. I'm on the management board of the PWA, which is the Professional Windsurfers Association, which governs the World Cups and the World Tour. So if you have any questions about the World Tour or the PWA, I can answer those questions. So in addition to the coaching, if there's something you want to know, just let me know. Anyway, so with Cape Verde, the plan is to do a holding period. At the moment, I believe they're talking about 4 weeks holding period for the month of February, and then calling the competition on with about 5 days in advance. That's what they're talking about at the moment. And so 5 days before a big swell is expected to hit, the organizer, the PWA, will say, okay, competition is on. Everyone then books their flights and flies to Cape Verde, which is a little bit hectic, but possible. And it's also the best way to guarantee good conditions. And it's a little bit nicer because then you're not on the island for as long as well. You're just there for the swell, for the competition, and then head home again. Because it's really not nice to be there or anywhere for a competition and waiting for wind. And so if we can move to more of a on-call model with the World Cups, I think it's good for the sport. I know it's hard for people with other jobs and whatnot who are still competing, and I definitely understand that. But dealing with weeks of no wind like we just had in France are really a nightmare for the sailors, for the organizers, for everyone else. So we're trying to move to a forecast model in the places where it's possible. It's not possible everywhere. And we'll see. It's an experiment. If we do this in Cabo Verde, it will be the first time I think the PWA has done a holding period competition. And yeah, maybe then we could do one at Ho'okipa like Thomas suggests, which would be amazing. A lot of these places would be amazing. Even Pozo, which is pretty consistently windy. If you had a month period to do it, let's say July, and you just took the best 4 days of July, it would be so epic. It'd be just guaranteed epic, rather than now where you end up with some days that are really not epic, and everyone has to be there for 8 days or 10 days or whatever it is. All right, everyone, I think I'm going to call that a night. I know it's getting colder, so we don't have as much footage, but if you do have footage, if you do have questions, post them in the group. We've got a lot of good discussion. I love this discussion about how to hit the lip, and this competition is going to be ongoing. There's not a deadline for this because I really want it tied around success of the people who are working on this, and so I want to see what works. And then otherwise, now I'm in Germany for a few weeks. Hopefully I can come up with some other content to push out into the group, and you guys can discuss it. Tell me what you want done differently. Dom asked about Cape Verde, asked about Kite Beach. So I think Dom, the question is, or not the question, I think the plan would be if Punta Preta is not good enough, to go to Little Ho'okipa. Little Ho'okipa is a spot more north, sort of near to Alibaba, and it works if the swell is more north, and maybe it picks up more wind swell as well. It seems to work more often than Punta Preta, though it's not as good. So I think we would aim to go there. So it is a bit roaming, but if we go on call, I don't see why we wouldn't be at Punta Preta. I had a trip there a few years back with Traversa, and it was a big swell coming in, and then it shifted more north, and it actually didn't come in at Punta Preta, so we were at Alibaba and Quarajul the whole time. And Little Ho'okipa would have been fine for competing. I think Alibaba is pretty tough for competing, especially when it's got size. But we'll see. I think ideally Punta Preta works, and if we're going on forecasts, I think it's pretty likely that's where we'll go. All right, guys, I'm gonna sign off. I'll try to get some content posted into the group this week. Again, if you've got questions, comments, photos, videos, it can be old, it can be new, whatever else, about gear, about technique, about mindset. Mindset is so important. We're talking, I think every session something comes up about mindset, about not being too hard on yourself, about dealing with motivation, about dealing with fear, whatever. And that's just as important as things like high five the lip or bend your knees. It's even probably more important. Mindset is really key to success in windsurfing and everything else. So questions about anything, fair game, post it in the group. I love the discussion. You guys are killing it with the advice that you're giving, which was really one of my big goals when I set up this community, is to have, such a rich forum of advice from so many different people. So I'm stoked. Thank you. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Have a good windy week. I hope it's not too cold. I hope it's windy. You can get on the water. If not, watch some windsurfing videos and get some exercise. All right. Take care.